Story 1. This happened at an airport somewhere on the Asian continent. I was waiting for my flight home after attending an international academic conference. There, I was in a plain shirt, a blazer, and regular black pants. From the corner of my eyes, I saw a man in the military uniform of that country. I learned later that he was a lieutenant, and he had 2 men walking behind him. When he was near me, he must have seen me, and he looked surprised. He immediately turned my way and marched right up to me. He then stood at full attention and saluted me. He said, "Colonel Bigman, sir." The 2 men behind him followed suit. At first, I didn't know what to do, but I didn't want to embarrass these men. So, I saluted them back. Bringing down my hand, I went right next to him and softly said, "I'm sorry, but you have the wrong person. I'm not Colonel Bigman." Then I stepped back. The lieutenant looked puzzled for a moment, but he quickly realized what had happened and what I had just done. He smiled, then held out his hand, and I shook it. "Thank you, sir," he said. He then turned and continued on his way. I went back to waiting for my flight, but I then realized that the people in the waiting room were looking at me strangely. Don't colonels usually travel in regular business clothes? Story 2. Backstory. In the winter of 2017, my family went on a huge road trip from our home in Northern California all the way to Arizona and Nevada. We spent 5 days and Christmas in Arizona in a hotel overlooking the Grand Canyon. And then we were off to Nevada, where we were going to spend just a few nights to celebrate my dad's birthday and see a David Copperfield show. We ate dinner at an adjoining restaurant called the Wolfgang Puck, and then my parents left my sister and me, 14 and 16 years old at the time, to go to their hotel room alone, as long as we got them some dessert and were back to our room within the hour. We got Black Forest chocolate cake and some rum and raisin ice cream and headed back upstairs, along with the leftover food from dinner. When we reached the 8th floor, we stepped out and began walking to our room, down the hall and to the right. Just as we turned the corner, a door to our left opened. An irate-looking woman stepped out, tapping her foot impatiently and staring expectantly at us. "Crazy lady. Finally. It should not take you over an hour to deliver some cake." Me. What do you? The crazy lady grabs for the food. I'm carrying the dessert. My sister had the leftovers and says, "Give those here. I'm a paying customer. I won't stand for you mouthing off like that." "Hey, what are you doing?" "That's my food," I jerk back. My sister is already several feet back, looking amused but also worried, probably about the cake, not me. "Listen, I don't want to hear your excuses. Another word out of either of you, and I'll have you reported." "What the heck are you on about? We are guests at the hotel, and you better stay away." The waiter comes around the corner. In front of him is a huge cart that is literally piled with food. "Waiter." "Hello?" I heard yelling. "Is something wrong?" She said before I could speak, "Your dumb employees not only came an hour late with my food, but they are now being argumentative and are refusing to give me the food. Are you in charge around here? Maybe you can talk some sense into them." The waiter turns to me and says, "Young man, is what she's saying." He stops mid-sentence, realizing that he's talking to a 5'3" teen whose voice hasn't even cracked yet. "Ma'am, I don't know who you think these people are, but they aren't waiters. They have food, yes, but that is from the Wolfgang Puck, as you can see by the box logo, and it's not even from where you ordered the food." She tries to interrupt, but he cuts her off. "I know because I have your food right here." The crazy lady goes pretty red and shuts up right away. After that, the waiter told us to wait a bit further down the hall, and after giving the lady her dessert, he came back to us. He escorted us to our rooms, and for the most part, that was the end of that. We did get some free breakfast cards delivered to our door early the next morning, but we were leaving for a lunch engagement on our drive home, and there was no time to use them. Story 3. Okay, I finally got one, and I don't work here, and a Karen story. Background: I own and operate a handyman business. I do remodels, flooring, painting, light plumbing, electrical, basically anything that has to do with a house. Well, my wife wanted new flooring for the whole downstairs, so we went to the home improvement store that rhymes with Lowe's. I shop there a lot, and everyone in the place knows me by name. I was showing my wife all the options and was talking her into vinyl plank flooring, explaining how it goes together and telling her about it being 100% waterproof and scratch-proof, etc. So after talking for about 30 minutes, my wife picks out the style and color she likes, and then goes off to look at some other things. As soon as my wife leaves and I start loading the planks, I hear the typical "excuse me." Thinking nothing of it, I keep loading, and the next thing I know, I get a push from behind, and again, "Excuse me. It's about time you finish with that woman. Now you must help me." "Sorry, no, I don't work here," I reply. "Yes, you do. The other employees called you by name, and you showed that woman what she needed." "Sorry, ma'am, that woman is my wife. Again, I don't work here." The woman's voice goes up to a screech, and she says, "Stop lying and help me now." I ignored her and went to load another box when she then grabbed my arm and screeched, "Help me now, or I will get you fired." I pulled my arm away and said, "Leave me alone, ma'am." She yells, "How rude, I will have your job," and storms off. I finish and go to find my wife. Shortly after, I hear in that Karen voice, "There he is. He assaulted me and was rude. What are you going to do about it?" I turn to see Karen and Bill, the manager. Bill asks me what happened, and I tell him. He looks at Karen and says, "Sorry, ma'am, he really does not work here." Karen went off yelling, screaming, and threatening to call corporate, the typical Karen stuff. Poor Bill just had to listen. I left. Fast forward to 2 weeks later, I get a call for a flooring job. I arrive to look at the job and give my bid. I knock on the door, and behold, who answers the door? No one other than the Karen from the store. The look on her face was priceless, and my first words to her set her off. I looked at her and said, "Sorry, I don't work here," and left. Story 4. I work at a small store on a college campus. We're right across the street from the school's bookstore and are technically a branch of it. Every semester, the bookstore hosts a poster sale outside in a tent. It's completely leased out to a company, and all transactions are done through them. I couldn't honestly tell you what we get out of it, but it's not sales. School started this week for us, and despite the challenges in America, we're all going ahead with mostly in-person classes. Still, we've had a lot of phone calls instead of in-person sales, and I'm always grateful to the people who do them since it benefits both of us. Today, I got a call from someone a bit different. Caller: "Hey, I just spoke with my staff member about the details of the poster sale, and I was just calling back to see if you could tell me the price of the posters." Me: "I'm so sorry, but I don't actually know. It's not actually under our division. We just know the dates and times because of the flyers they asked us to hand out." "Well, could you go check for me?" "I'm sorry, but they don't have a website, and all the posters are different sizes and prices anyway. I can transfer you to the bookstore, and someone might be able to help you over there." "Well, can't you just go across the street and check for me? It's literally right there." Me, incredibly short-staffed and already having a terrible day, said, "I'm sorry, sir, I can't leave the store." "What do you mean?" "It's literally right across the street. It'll just take a second." Completely taken aback that this man, who isn't even a customer, is asking me to literally exit my store to tell him the prices from another retailer, I said, "Sir, I'm clocked in over here. I'm sorry, I can't leave the store." "You literally can't leave the store. Like you're physically incapable of leaving the store." Completely done with the day at 11 a.m., I said, "Yes, that's correct." "Wow, great customer service. Thanks." At this point, I said thank you, and he told me to have a nice day. I attempted to return the sentiment, but alas, my new friend hung up on me, just when he was learning the traumatizing boundaries of my workplace prison. Maybe one day, I will escape the physical entrapment of my store. I'd just like to add that this poster sale is done entirely in person. They don't ship, hold anything, or do orders over the phone, as they don't have a phone. He would have to go inside the tent no matter what. Story 5. So look, I am a pretty well-to-do businessman. I own a Corvette Stingray, believe me, it's relevant. I just bought my new car after driving my old Honda for 5 years. There I am in Walmart with my girlfriend of 8 years. I helped her get ketchup from the top shelf. She went to get something. This lady approaches me. Lady, can you tell me where product Z is? Me, being nice, directs her. She sees me at the checkout, but still thinks I am an employee. When I get into my car Corvette Stingray, she shouts at me that she's calling the police for grand theft auto. She's gonna get me arrested, and she blocks my car with her minivan. I tell her that it's my car, but she is certain that it's not mine because Walmart employees don't have a salary that can afford a Corvette Stingray. The police come. They ask me for IDs and such, and I show them my keys. They run my license plate and find out that it's actually my car. And they have to arrest that woman. This might not sound that serious, but believe me, she was not messing around, punching and cursing at the police officers for lying. The woman didn't believe those police officers. Story 6. I've never had an "I don't work here" experience in my life until yesterday. My partner and I were at a home improvement store where the employees wear maroon smocks or aprons. I was wearing a black tulle shirt and a bright sky blue jacket. He was wearing a blue sweater and jeans. We both were wearing masks and gloves and talking about whether the planter we were looking at would sit well on the rails of our deck. All of a sudden, a woman wearing no mask and no gloves comes within 3 feet of me, almost in between us, and starts asking questions about a dead plant she's holding. I politely tell her that we don't work there, and she starts cackling wildly, reaching out to grab my arm. I hopped backwards to avoid her and firmly said, "Please don't touch me." She rolls her eyes at me and scurries off with her flatbed cart and supposed dead plant, in what I assume is a search for someone who actually works there. All the while, my partner is looking at me with what I imagine is a look of total shock, but I can only see his eyes, which were huge. We were surprised enough at the level of audacity this woman had in trying to grab me that it took us a second to get back to what we were discussing. I'm just super grateful she didn't actually make contact. I know this post is pretty tame compared to some, but I was definitely at a loss for words. Story 7. This isn't your typical, "I don't work here" story. The lady knew I didn't work there, but I don't know where else this fits. Back when I was desperate for money, I took a job servicing filtered water coolers. I was to go to Business X, change their filters, and then leave. Simple and very low-paying job. One day, I get an assignment to go to a retail store and change the filters in the break room. Sure, no problem, done it before. I get there, and the manager, the Karen in this case, is my contact, so I contact her, and she meets me at the door. So far, so good. No sign yet that she's even a Karen. I get shown to the break room and put down my bag of filters and tools next to the cooler, out of the way of the doors, and here we go. Karen the manager, "You can't put that bag there." Me, "Sorry? Why not? People have to come through here." "Okay, where should I put it so it's out of the way?" Rolling her eyes, she says, "Find a spot. I have other things to do," and walks away. I put the bag on the counter next to the water cooler, shut off the water, and get to work. I remove and drain the old filters into a bucket that I carry with me, and as I'm getting out the new filters, she comes back. "You seriously put the bag on the counter? Are you an idiot?" "I'm sorry. Where should I put my bag so it's not in your way?" "Anywhere but there. The germs on that thing alone are contaminating the surface." I have a disinfectant spray with me. I'll give it a wipe down before I go. "I'm calling your manager." "Okay, do you have the number for the company I work for?" "Idiot." And she walks out. I don't care already. I'm being paid poorly, and she is the one acting unreasonably. I don't like taking nonsense, so I don't. I already had a plan to get her back. I finish up with new filters, gaskets, and a bit of new plastic water line as one of the lines had yellowed. I give the contaminated counter a spray and a wipe, just as I said, and I'm ready to leave. I call out, "I'm all done. Have a nice day." She pops her head out of her office. "Whatever, idiot. You won't be coming back here, by the way." "Okay." "Oh, but I would." I plop my stuff in my car and go back into the store. It's a retail chain that went out of business now, but it was big at the time. I come back in, and there she is, the Karen. "What are you doing back in here, idiot? I told you not to come back." "Do you have Idema in this store? I'd like to buy one, please." Her face melts and her eyes go wide. Now, I'm the customer, and she has to serve me, and she just called me an idiot. We don't sell those. I know they did, as I had spotted them on the way in. No? Are you sure? Yes. I point. What are those? I'm talking normally, but the smirk on my face feels so good. Oh, I didn't notice them there. I buy the item and thank her so sweetly for her help, then tell her, I'll be filling out the online survey on my customer experience. So what's your name? I'd like to mention you. Oh, the squirming. It was so awesome. She said, please don't tell them about our ... interaction when you came to change the filter. I'll make you a deal. Don't be so disrespectful to people in the future, and I'll hold back on my review of your behavior. She nods, and I anticlimactically give her a pass.